the laugh again. It's lovely to see everyone. It has been far too long since we've seen each other, but circumstances have been such. I don't know if Jane can do it. Whether I mean, maybe I can, but actually put the agenda up, share the screen for the agenda. Unless I can do open share tray. I can. Think screen. Blah, blah, blah. There we go. So I hope people are seeing that. Whether that stream's okay. Andrew, do you want to just say whether you can see that okay?
I can see it.
Okay, good. Right, so again, over to Jane, I think, for apologies for absence.
Can everyone hear me? It's Reese.
Yes, Reese.
Yeah. Jane's having a bit of technical difficulties, so I'll read out the apologies. It's so we've got apologies for Katrina Baker and Owen Dugmore. We've also had some resignations. So we've had Councillor Miles Hoskin, who won't be joining us. Bob won't be joining us. Paula, Angela, Anne, and Jane.
Great, Reese. Thanks very much for that. And then minutes. I'm not totally sure where we are with the minutes from the last meeting. In terms of whether everyone has had a chance to read them and to work through them and see them. If you have, it would be useful to have 2 people to propose and second the minutes from the last meeting. It's a bit of a sort of go ahead on this one, please.
Anthony, I've got one amendment for it. My surname's wrong. And apart from that, I approve them.
Great, thanks very much, Fiona. And the issue there, perhaps if you email Jane, we can sort that out.
I put it in the meeting chat.
Fantastic. Yeah, as long as she gets that with their technical issues. Do I have anyone to second the minutes? I'm not sure if anyone was.
I was there. I'll second them.
Yes, of course you were. No, yeah, that would be brilliant. Okay, excellent. And then we're on to membership matters. I think at this stage, I've written to Paula and Bob, who have both resigned from the LAF after a long period of time. Not for any negative reasons, I don't think, but they're doing other things. And I guess Bob is scaling down a bit as well. But I wrote to them to say on our behalf, and especially on my behalf, a huge thank you for all they've achieved, both in and outside the LAF. I mean, Paula has worked ceaselessly on her Edgemond area with Rights of Way and with the walking groups, and Bob doing all his work in Wellington and being a member and probably a founder member, I think, and getting the clearance parties going, which has just been absolutely outstanding. So my thanks go out to them, and I'm looking to see if we can get anyone else who's interested in joining the LAF. John Wellman, the local representative for Cycling UK, got in touch with me, and I've mentioned to him that he might be interested. But when I was asked how do we get members, I know there's a whole range of methods and advertising, etc. But please do propose people that you know, make some suggestions, because it really would be useful to get our numbers back up, and also to cover quite a range of areas. Not, you know, we've got walkers, cyclists, landowners, etc., riders. So we want to cover as many of those bases as we possibly can on what has been a very effective LAF, and more of that later on. So if there aren't any other membership matters, we'll go to item 4 on the agenda, which is improvements to the Silky Way. Andrew, I'm not sure.
I'm sorry, my hand was up.
Right, okay. I need to probably bring up another screen then, because right, I better bring that up. Yep.
Yeah, as Secretary of Roads and Walkers are Welcome, even though I'm here for the T50, we have written and asked that Malcolm Skelton take Bob's place, because Malcolm Skelton has taken Bob's role as footpath secretary. So we'd like him I don't know how formally we have to do it, but Malcolm's here today, and we'd like him to be a member in Bob's place, if possible.
Fantastic. I guess if Jane's got technical, perhaps it's Andrew. What's the process we need to go through here? You're muted currently, Andrew.
Sorry.
I was going to bring this up in membership matters, but I think our constitution gives us 2 years, and I can't remember when was the last time we held a recruitment and election for the laugh, and election's not the right word, but I'm wondering if we ought to go through that process again at this time. And I don't know what you think about that. Perhaps now's a good opportunity to put out the adverts to join the laugh again and reconstitute it as we did before.
I think Andrew, that would make perfect sense actually, because I don't think we've lost our direction, but we need to kind of regroup again, don't we, after this rather awkward period. And
yes.
And I also think that we need a sort of clear list of who are members, and we contact details and things like that, which got a little bit thin on the ground a while ago. Is that something that you do or Jane would do?
I'd work with Jane to doing it. So I'm taking it as written that everybody who's on the laugh now who's still interested is going to reapply to be on the laugh. But I'd also think that we could possibly look at a little bit of a recruitment drive for those areas where perhaps membership is lacking. We've got a good user base on the laugh, but we haven't got an amazing landowner representation. And one of the things that I've always looked for is trying to get people on board from farming community. Potentially, I've always been looking at Homes England, and I think an opportunity to re-recruit and try and fill some of the gaps in, and where members think there's gaps that we can look at, we can go from there. But I think it's a good time to have a look at where we are. And I think the Constitution does require that we reapply, or you members reapply rather, after 2 years. And I think we're pretty close to that now.
Great. Yeah, I think that would be a very good idea, before we get to the next laugh, with people putting forward, as we have done with Malcolm Skelton. And also, I think I'm aware that meeting should really in some way be an AGM, because it's about time that the role of chair went up for election again. That's not that I'm unhappy to do it. I'm more than happy to do it, but I think I've been in the seat now for 2 or 3 years uncontested, if that makes sense. Nicola. Nikki, did you had your hand up, but it's gone down again?
No, I pressed it by mistake. I apologise.
Well, it's nice to hear from you regardless. Good. Andrew, anything else on membership matters?
No, that's it from me.
Great. So that'll be a sort of looking forward to hearing from you and Jane about how we're going to go there. I appreciate the issues with landowners, and I think for those in the meeting who don't know, we have put quite a lot of effort into NFU, Homes England, or whatever they want to call themselves now, and haven't had a lot of success. Harper Adams, etc. And obviously with Jim going, Peter Holt has sort of tailed away. I'm not sure quite what's happened to Peter. I haven't heard from him for a long time, but that would be a good role to fill.
Well, we've got Gabrielle from.
Go on.
Say again. Yep.
Nikki.
Right. Yeah, I have spoken to the Young Farmers Association, and I was hoping that a girl was going to be part of this meeting, but I can't actually see her on the list, so I'm not sure whether she's managed it. Right.
No, that's brilliant. I mean, it cuts both ways actually. That that members from landowning communities both would be a huge benefit to the LAF, but I think it might actually be, as it has been for all of us, quite a benefit for them, particularly if they're younger members and get to know a little bit more about the kind of work that we do. But I'm sure they'd have quite a bit to offer, which is why I was thinking of someone from Harper Adams or something like that as well. Good. So unless there's anything else, I'm looking for hands up. No, on membership matters. Let's move to improvements to the Silky Way.
And that would be me.
Yeah.
So,
Thanks, Kelly.
hi everyone, I'm Kelly. I'm now, my official title, I think, is Active Travel Delivery Specialist for Telford and Wrekin. So I've been in post a little while. There's kind of two elements to my job. One is improving local infrastructure to hopefully make walking and cycling more appealing and easier for those that want to do it. And then there is the behaviour change element to get more people to do it, basically. So one of the key projects that I'm working on is the Silky Way. So Nikki had asked me to come along and do a bit of an update on that. I have got a few slides if you want me to share those, if that's easier to go through. So I don't know if you want to stop sharing and I'll try. This is when technology lets me down, but I can certainly try, bear with me.
Good, go ahead, Kelly. Take your time.
Okay. You let me know if you can see that.
That's perfect, Kelly.
Brilliant. I was going to say, let me see if I can get it up on full screen.
It's quite large already, so that we
Is
can't
that
see
okay?
but it's, well, it depends on what sort of screen you're looking at. Someone's watching on a phone.
Let me see what it'll do, because everybody
There
will
you go.
disappear now. So if anybody's got questions, please just shout them at me, because you've all now disappeared off my screen, so I won't see anybody's hands. So the Silky Way investment plan has kind of already started a little bit, but it's a very kind of long phase project and also very dependent on funding, which, you know, we're hoping to get, but there's not necessarily a definitive timescale on it due to money being available to do. So the Silky Way, which you hopefully all kind of know, is our 14-mile local walking and cycling route, which runs north to south of the borough. So it runs from Bratton down to Coalport, runs through lots of communities, gives us key links with some of the key industrial sites for employment, and obviously lots of local points of interest, green spaces, local nature reserves, all come off this, as well as lots of other local trails and local routes. So we've put together an investment plan. Obviously there's a big expectation for the high end of this plan. If we can't get all the funding, hopefully we can deliver it to some standard, but like I said, that will depend on the money that we get as we go along. Before we started this work, when I joined the team, we did a active travel survey in 2020, which didn't just focus on the Silky Way, so it focused on lots of active travel aspects. So I thought it would be key to kind of do a satisfaction level survey with the existing route as it is. That then enables us, hopefully, to go back in a couple of years, do another survey and see if the improvements we've made have actually made a difference. So we've kind of got something to measure it on. We got 555 people to respond to that, which is okay. Realised quite a lot of people are using the route daily and weekly already. So, you know, that was positive to hear. It is predominantly for leisure, you know, which is fine. That's kind of what we expected. And it kind of gets an average rating on most things. So we asked about signage, lighting, you know, safety, surfacing, all those kind of things. The worst one that came out was lighting, which probably won't surprise anybody that's used it or is aware of it. There are sections where that's kind of not up to standard at the moment. So yeah, 40% only rated the lighting as 1, which is the lowest. We got lots of really good comments back, so they'll all kind of feature in the different phases as we go forwards. The key issue with the Silky Way and the key barrier, I think, to using it is feeling safe. That comes down to lots of things, as we found out. Lighting is key, CCTV, signage, kind of opening the space up a bit more, allowing more rest points and people to kind of dwell, improve the links with residential areas, and see if we can do more organised group-led events were the key things that came out of kind of improving safety and hopefully overcoming that barrier. Not a quick fix, lots of work to do, and like I said, it'll come through the different phases. So the first thing we are looking at is signage. There's a real mixture of signage. Some of it's okay, Some of it is not. Some of it's very old. Some of it is the wrong way round and broken and not been cleaned for many years. So we're currently in the process of redesigning all the signage, all 14 miles of it. Not a small project to start my job with. And that hopefully, like I say, it's been designed now and should start going in after spring. So what we will do is we will take out all the old signage and replace with new. So it will then be consistent along the route, and that will involve adding more signage, you know, where we think it's not good enough where at the moment, improving that, and then also putting in key way markers and creating kind of a brand which will incorporate the original wheel. So people know they're on the route, it's recognised, you know, creates a bit of consistency there, and hopefully people won't be getting lost and we'll be able to use it a little better. Like I said before, one of the key issues is lighting. You can just about see on that map, there are quite large sections where the lighting is poor, for many reasons. So we're looking at kind of more sustainable options for lighting. There's a lots of environmental issues that we need to consider along the Silkin Way. We can't just go and put in a load of light columns and make it lovely and bright. So we need to think about what we do carefully. Again, that's going to be a phase further along the lines, hoping to do something that's more green and sustainable. So solar powered, wind powered lighting, something like that. But again, a bridge to cross when we come to that element. The other element is CCTV. I'm trying to work with the police at the moment to try and get some key stats really of where those key areas are that we feel that would be beneficial. The bonus with some of the CCTV is as well, they can also provide counters. So we can also monitor the usage. But we are looking at putting in foot counters at different intervals along the route so we can actually monitor people's movement and how many people are actually using it. There are lots of elements where the Silkin Way crosses the highway. So it's not all off-road, it's predominantly off-road, and there's no consistency in the crossing points. Some of them, again, have been there for years and years and years. So we're going to try and look at improving those. We're waiting for some information from a bid that we put into the DFT at the moment, which we've not heard back on. So we are pushing on that to try and improve those crossing points, and again, make them a bit more consistent so they're friendlier for local cyclists and pedestrians. This isn't going to work now. Here we go. So the other key thing, again, similar to the signage, there's a real mix of street furniture along the route with bins and benches and all sorts of things. So we're going to look at that and try and improve those and try and make them more appealing, especially for cyclists, and make them more accessible, so they're easier for everybody to use. The other thing we'd ideally like to add is some key maintenance points for cyclists. So at the moment, there isn't anything on the route, you know, like air or puncture repair or anything like that. So if we can, we'd like to add those in, then, you know, people don't have to veer off the route or take their own kit all the time or, you know, whatever. You never know when these things happen, do you? The other one that's already been done as we speak and should be finished, well, predominantly finished this week, is we've realised that a lot of our walking and cycling routes aren't regularly maintained, as well as the highways. So we're looking at solutions for that. We are in the process of getting our own road sweeper, and that road sweeper will go around our walking and cycling routes. It may be used for other things, but we now have it there to use so we can improve all of them. But we've just launched a big general maintenance programme for the Silkin Way. So it started before Christmas. I think it's in its 9th week now. So they're about to finish all the general sweeping and cleansing, and then they're going to go back and do some of the general kind of defects that they can fix easily that doesn't form a bigger part of the project. So yeah, if anybody's been down it, you should hopefully see the difference. There's some before and after pictures there that kind of show, you know, just getting the leaves and the vegetation cut back makes a big difference. And we've received some really good positive feedback of people who've been using those routes. So that's me. I'll stop sharing. Anybody's got any questions, please shout at me.
So, Kelly, thanks ever so much for that. It's really interesting to hear what's happening. I've got some questions, but let others go first. Fiona.
Yeah, hi Kelly.
Hiya.
You're going to really hate me. I represent disability, and you've made no mention of mobility scooters or wheelchairs in your presentation.
Okay.
I actually do have a mobility scooter, and I do go out exploring when the weather allows me to. So I'm happy to meet up with you when the weather permits, and see how I find the routes on my mobility scooter.
Yeah, no, that would be perfect. Like I say, that the aim of doing this is to try and make it as accessible as we can do. So like I said, at the moment, the key project is the signage and things like that. But yeah, absolutely, as the phases progress, that would be really, really useful. So yes, thank you for that.
Great, thanks for that, Fiona. I think it's worth pointing out, I mean, I think it's obvious, but as routes go, it's pretty flat, isn't it? And pretty accessible. So, you know, we need to be getting the disability access correct. It's not a sort of complex mountainous, and it's not climbing the Wrekin.
It's not. There are elements of it that aren't as great as others, and there's not a lot we can do, you know, in some of those areas. But we are in the process of grading a lot of our walking and cycling routes so that it's more obvious then who it is accessible for. Because like I say, with some of the gradients, there isn't a huge amount we can do, but we can promote, you know, what is suitable and what isn't. So yeah, the Silky Way will be graded as well.
Good. I will just pop in there, a bit naughty of me as the chair, but I have to declare a bit of an interest along the lines of what Fiona was saying. When you spoke about crossing points, etc., no mention of horse riding at all. I can send you hundreds of photographs. I use them in all my presentations all over the UK of riders on the Silky Way. So I'm going to come to this a bit later, but that's a user group that seems to be consistently forgotten by the council as the disabled access. And I use the word disabled to mean mobility. I also include those of us who are young enough to be pushing prams at the moment. So, you know, there seems to be a little bit of an obsession with possibly walking for leisure and some cycling for leisure, and then getting to work, and then everything else seems to be forgotten. And there's a bit more of a package there. I'll just point out that Telford and Wrekin Council, Andrew Singh, there rightly won an award for the work done in Town Park, a lot of it Silky Way, from the British Horse Society, because what they provided there was so outstanding, and that shouldn't be forgotten.
Okay, yeah.
Dave. So Dave Hopkins.
Hi, Kelly.
Hi.
Can you hear me? Yeah.
I can.
Thank you very much for your contribution so far. I use the Silky Way on foot or cycling, and one of the things I'd be interested in know whether it's come up as part of your job. As a cyclist, there are places on the Silky Way, and there are other sort of footpaths in and around Telford, where at some point somebody has made a decision to kind of put a sort of a dual system with a part that's meant for walking, I guess, and a part that's meant for cycling, and sometimes with a small curb in the middle, so there's a sort of a step up and a step down. And it's as a cyclist, it's a pretty lethal thing to have, because if you catch it at a sort of an oblique angle, it can throw you off. Now, I don't know whether there is any intention to kind of get rid of those sort of double surfaced sections, and if so, I think it would fit with the new kind of stuff that's come in about cycling and pedestrians and highway code.
We do.
Cycling, you should just give way to pedestrians, and so you don't need that separation anymore.
Yeah, absolutely. Surfacing is something that we've got to look at a little bit later down the line. Again, 14 miles of it. It's a big project to do. But yeah, we have at the moment there is no intention to segregate cyclists and pedestrians. It's a shared use area, like we said, predominantly off-road. It's more of an education thing a lot of the time, is to getting people to understand the space. So I couldn't promise 100% that they're going, but we're not intending on adding any more, but we can certainly look at those sections that are a problem. And if you want to highlight the specific areas that you're aware of, please do let me know.
Okay, thank you.
Well,
Can I ask me? It's gone on.
Anthony, you're muted.
On mute.
Thank you. Yeah, I love the sound of my own voice, but you don't get it. So there we go. Thanks for that. Sorry. I was just saying, other than those of you who can lip read, that it's nice to have some guests with us, and also to take questions from the floor, which I think are relevant in this case, because the Silking Way is so important to us. Dave, you could probably drop your hand now, I think, if you're done. I'm just going sort of straight down the list, so bear with me. Malcolm, lovely to have you with us, and do chip in.
Yeah, hi everybody. As already been mentioned, I'm Bob's replacement from Wellington Walkers Are Welcome. I appreciate Bob had very big shoes that I'm going to struggle to fill. But Silking Way is fairly local to me, and one of the points that I'd like to raise, and I don't think Kelly's picked up on it yet, may be that the route as it's shown on various maps is incorrect. If you look at Google Maps, it shows the Silking Way following the old Rottington railway line right the way into Wellington. And a lot of people often ask, where does it go when it comes out on Rockwoodine Road in Wellington? The answer is it doesn't, because they missed the turning off it. So one of the things that you might like to look at is, how do you get those online maps corrected that a lot of people look at?
Yeah, absolutely, Malcolm. That's on my to-do list, to improve our own, make that clear, and the digital presence and the interaction better, and then try and get them all in line. So along with the signage and the maps, hopefully people can navigate it easier than they do at the moment, because it is confusing.
Yeah, I don't know what involvement the council would likely to be asking for from members of the LAF or other user groups of Silking Way, but we as Wellington Walkers Are Welcome worked with Paula from Telford and East Shropshire Ramblers when the Hutchison Way underwent a similar project a few years ago. And certainly from the Wellington end of the Silking Way, I'd be more than happy for our group to participate in anything that needs to be done. Yeah, brilliant. Thank you.
Malcolm, thanks very much, and thanks for joining us too. That's great. Do pass our best wishes on to Bob as well, even though I sort of written to him personally. Sally Ann, welcome.
Hi. Yeah, I think you've already spoken about horse riders. I think it should be remembered that the Silking Way does have parts of it that are actually public bridle paths. So the signage, in those areas should include a horse as well. And obviously, the last thing people want to do if they're off-roading, because we know it's not safe on the roads, is they don't really want to go down a tarmacked area where it is a public bridle way. So I'm just saying, yes, please consider the horse riders as well, as Anthony's already said, and especially as part of the Silken Way is over public bridle way land.
Brilliant, thank you. I will.
Great, Sally Ann. Thanks for amplifying that point. It is important. The horse riders do seem to get forgotten from time to time. I'll work in reverse on that one. That if ever we can get bridleways added to the definitive map, and Sally Ann and her family are absolutely famous for that, that's a win-win for cyclists as well, let alone walkers. Gabriella.
Hello. Fabulous work on the Silking Way. I think it sounds fantastic. I was just a bit surprised to hear that you're going to light it for its full length. I don't know if many users expect public rights of way to be fully lit. That was my query really, and that near where I am as the representative of Harper Adams, by the way, we're fighting to have our rights of way signed. I just wondered if maybe the funding could be reallocated to the rural areas a bit more. That's all.
Yeah, we haven't quite got to the lighting stage yet. It is a key barrier to using the route, and I think a lot of that is linked with safety. And people feel obviously if it's better lit, it's safer. But again, there is a lot of the environmental considerations as to certain sections of the route. So we're not saying it's possible to light the entire route. We're just going to start investigating what the options are to hopefully get more people to use it. But yeah, that funding's not quite allocated as yet. Like I say, we need some more answers on funding going forward. It is a longer term project, so nothing will happen with lighting in the near future. I shouldn't think it will come later down the line.
Gabriella, thanks very much for that, and thanks for joining us too. We've been trying to get someone from Harper for a long time because you've got a lot to add. Yeah, lighting is quite an issue, isn't it? What will probably happen is the funding will be specifically for that and not available to spend wherever you like. Yeah. I appreciate that the route is, whilst urban, it goes through a lot of nature-heavy areas, and there's a conflict there. What we have to remind ourselves of, though, is what it was set up for in the first place. And if you ever go to any of my other meetings, particularly planning, you'll hear me banging on about the fact that if I mention John Madden, most people don't know who he is anymore because people have forgotten. It's over here. What this document was all about, and the actual design of Telford originally, which is why you can pass down the EP quite freely. But the western side of Telford, it's just endless traffic lights because I think planning have sort of forgotten what Telford was meant to be. And the Silky Way, I always think it's a spine. It's the spine of Telford in terms of how you can move in a non-motorised manner, particularly when Southwater was being developed, and the Hutchison Way and the Silky Way kind of just got lost behind blue hoarding for an extended period of time. And in terms of signage, in some ways, did still remain a little bit lost. It's interesting what Gabriella and others say. And Andrew's probably going to shudder when I say this. I don't know how this is going to be dealt with, but we've got to remember the Silky Way is not in its entirety a public right of way. In fact, great swathes of it are not even definitive, which means they could theoretically disappear under development at any stage. I've certainly fought for quite a long time, and I know work has been done by I think Anne and others to look at this, but the Silky Way needs status. It isn't. It's most of it is just a name. It is nothing else. It was a sort of flagship, dare I say, political project that achieved something in name, but the fact it's on a map doesn't mean an awful lot. It's had quite a lot of use, granted, but if you look at it on the definitive map, there are whole lengths of it that don't actually have any protection at all. Heaven only knows what will happen. Andrew's going to cringe when I say this now. If you get a situation like the Donington Rail Link, where we actually, Sally Ann will know this better than I do, that we just lost our riding and walking route as it was re-railed. And there are other bits of Telford and Wrekin which would be ideally suited to light rail. So I'm really pushing it a bit here, but I think you either don't tell your funders and keep very quiet about it, or you need to be very clear that you're funding something that doesn't have status. And I think that's really, really important. And I think Telford and Wrekin needs to bite the bullet and actually see what it can do to get dedications and creation orders done for the full length. And then the public actually has a right to go onto it. Were you aware of this, Kelly? I mean, it's not no. I
News to me.
And that is really, really important. Looking right back to why it was set up. Obviously, there's town park and bits like that which are okay. Yeah. I think everything from Wellington to Bratton, if I remember rightly, I think is some kind of, I don't know what it is. I mean, I think it's mainly council land, in fairness, but yeah. Can I say this in a public meeting? You might not have to tell your funders that, or they might say, "Well, who are you spending this money on?"
Good point.
So I think that really does need sorting. Final thing I'll say, and Paula and others hinted at this to me. The Ironbridge Way is the other one that's been forgotten. We've got the Hutchison Way, which sort of runs sort of west-east. But north-south, again, we've got the Ironbridge Way, which does a sterling job as well, but has kind of been lost. And in that is more suitable, I think, to walkers who have probably walked great lengths of it without realising. And I think once funding moves on, or the Silky Way has had its cut, I think the Ironbridge Way certainly needs looking at.
Okay, thank you.
Just one thing. Silky Way was formed as part of the development of the new town, and as you say, is partly right of way of different statuses, partly adopted and partly property. The project that Kelly's involved with comes under a push by her boss, Dean Sargent, the director in that area, to manage the Silky Way as a single entity for the first time. Dean's aware of the issues of the different statuses, as well as the signage, the surfaces and stuff like that. So all of these things are being considered as part of an overall strategy to develop sustainable transport in the area, and will be looked at. What Kelly's looking at now is initially some hits that can improve the Silky Way, both in terms of signage and publicity immediately. But those other issues that you have mentioned, Dean is aware of and will be considered.
Brilliant. Thanks very much, Andrew. I wasn't trying to be negative in any way. I'm just trying to get more, as it were.
No, it's just I wanted to emphasise that those bits that you had mentioned, the council was aware of as part of the strategy. They're also aware from, because I've mentioned it and talked with Dean, is the potential of which parts of the route can be used to accommodate and be useful for horse riders as well. So the Silky Way is being looked at as more than a footpath cycleway, and a number of issues are coming into place. But Kelly's project is a very early, quick hit, make a lot of difference in the signage, because those things were identified as important to all users, and something that we could do quite quickly, if that makes sense.
Brilliant. Well, that's great. That's great news, Andrew, and thank you, Kelly. It's I think the last big signage project that we had, sort of right to way-ish, was Town Park, which was just brilliant, fantastic job, and it stood the test of time because it was done well. Sally Ann.
Hi, sorry, yeah, just unmuting. You mentioned the Ironbridge Way. That is one that is still, it's not showing on a definitive map, but I have emails saying that it is actually a public bridleway. Because it hasn't been updated, it caused problems when we were pushing for bridleways through the development site of the old Bill Was power station. So it's something maybe you want to put on any other business later on.
Yeah, thank you. No, I sort of I think I've ridden and walked most of the Ironbridge Way, but it is a little bit lost, I must say, and it shares other routes as well. So, but it's one, as you say, really important link from the sort of river upwards going north. So, thank you for that.
I think historically there was meant to be a public inquiry which wasn't advertised correctly in the newspaper, if I recall what happened in the old days. I do have an email from Andrew Careless saying it is Bridleway. If you want to stick on any other business, that's fine.
Great, thank you. So, Kelly, anything else you'd like to add?
No, that's it from me. Thank you.
No, well, thank you, and keep us updated, and that's great news. It's exactly what the LAF, is here for, and wants to hear as well.
Great,
brilliant.
Thank
you. So let's move on to current projects. I'll take hands up on this one, but I'll sort of head off to Andrew first, if there's anything you want to add.
Okay, did you want me to just carry on and address that? Okay, so I think first of all, we've got a lot of new members on, and it might be useful time to start off to point out who we are, where we fit in. So most of you know me. I'm Andrew Careless, the Senior Rights of Way Officer. We've also got Carolyn Healy here, who is the Cabinet member who looks after Rights of Way. We've also got Councillor Elaine Callier here, who I'm meeting on Monday to look at various issues to do with disabled access, and she's got a lot to do with that. So Cabinet representation on the Local Access Forum is very important. These are the people who can take your concerns back to the Cabinet and help affect policy. We've also got Val Hulme here, who is looks after planning, rights of way, highways development, building control and other areas. So Val's very important in the development of the team, how it works and how it fits in within a wider area. Some of these you'll have met before, but you probably won't have met our two new additions, one of which is Gemma Crossley, who's been appointed for 2-year fixed-term contract as a Rights of Way officer, and Nikki Stallard, who has attended the Local Access Forum before, but is now attending it on the same as a Rights of Way officer on a fixed 2-year term contract. It's very important that those roles are here because they're helping us get through a big backlog of stuff. Now, Gemma has helped and supported us previously since November last year, I think, in getting rid of, or getting through the determinations on our DMMOs. Nikki, as you know, has worked as a legal assistant, helping out with Rights of Way for a number of years now. So I'm very happy to welcome Gemma and Nikki to the team. They've made a significant difference already in getting the work done. So the work that Gemma and Nikki will be involved in cuts across all the areas of Rights of Way that we deal with. So predominantly, one of our key issues is looking at getting rid of the backlog of definitive map modification order applications. That's one of our key drives, and they'll be assisting with that. But they'll also be looking at inquiries, maintenance and improvement, public path orders, enforcement. We're looking to try and develop our enforcement procedures, volunteer support, and planning and development. So leaving it at that stage there, has anybody got any questions on any of that? Okay, so the next good news that we've got is that we've been allocated an additional £300,000 over the next 3 years for Rights of Way improvement and maintenance. It's great because, as everybody knows, money's tight with the council, and getting such a significant sum in is going to make a huge amount of difference in improving the network. Some of the key areas that we're looking to put that into is trying to match that with Section 106 funding, and also use it so far as possible to get external contributions in. So we're trying to use that money to bring in more pots of money that we can use to develop the network. Okay, any questions on that bit? Gosh, everybody's really silent. I feel like a tin duck at a fairground here.
Hi, sorry, my hand was raised.
Sorry, Sally.
Hi, that's great news that you have the resource to look at the DMMOs, because I know there is a backlog. It would help if we could have a timeline when we think those DMMOs are going to be addressed. It's taken 20 years since the Wrekin one was put in for that to be sorted, and thank you very, very, very much for that. So yeah, it would help if we had a timeline when we know when the DMMOs are coming up for review, decision, etc. So that was why my hand was raised.
Okay, I'll move on to that a bit later, Sally. I've got a number of topics to get through, and hopefully I can give you a bit of an update on that as well to help. Okay, so.
Sorry, Andrew. Great, thank you, Sally. Could you just drop your hand now if you've said what you wish to say? Because I think that's what caught me out. That's why it didn't go down since the last time. Great, thank you, and thank you for that, Andrew.
Okay. So, in line with the DMMOs, and you'll have to forgive me if I'm repeating stuff here, but it's been so long since the last meeting, I'm not sure what I've updated on. But I think since the last meeting, we've finally managed to get the definitive map online as a new definitive map, not a draft definitive map. Now, the new definitive map reflects the 1965 definitive map and all subsequent modifications that have been made since that time. So we're aware that there are gaps in the definitive map, and we're aware that there are problems in the definitive map, but it is what it should be based on all of the legal procedures that have taken place since 1965. We are looking to make new definitive maps on a regular basis. So instead of waiting a period of, how long is it since the last one, 65, what are we looking at, 50, 56, 57 years? So we're not going to wait that long. We're going to try and get it done, before, what would that make it? Middle of next century. So what we're going to do is, on a regular basis,
I've told Daddy.
We're going to take all of the orders, modification orders that are done. We're going to put those in a new definitive map and republish it. We're also going to look at tidying up some of the areas on the definitive map that aren't really modification order issues. So, for example, if you peruse through the definitive map, you'll find that there are a number of rights of way that go through housing estates, for example. That's not a modification order issue. For some reason, back when the houses were built, the correct orders weren't made. So there's no order there to change the definitive map, and we need to address stuff like that. Does everybody understand what I mean by that? Yeah. Okay, so we've also published a new policy to deal with our DMMOs. So that policy, we think, gives us the opportunity to clear the backlog of definitive map modification orders a lot quicker, but also gives us transparency and process for new applications coming in. So when you make a new application, you can go online, look at the policy, and understand how that application is going to be addressed. Has anybody got any questions on that bit?
Yeah, hi, sorry, my hand's up. I'll drop it now, Anthony. You say the definitive map has been updated. How often does the Ordnance Survey take that data from you?
The Ordnance Survey, I think, takes the data with every order that's published. So whenever we make any changes, be it a public path order or a definitive map modification order, legal services send that information through to the Ordnance Survey, and they should adjust their map based on that. So it should be more or less immediate from our side. Whenever we make an order, off it goes to Ordnance Survey.
Okay, so I've got one example, which is the hatch down to steer away, and you've confirmed that as a bridle way. And thank you very much. You have put in the steps so that horse riders can access that part. It's been showing on the Ordnance Survey map for the last 4 years, which is, I think, when you confirmed it was a bridle way, still as a footpath.
Yes, we send the information to them. How they deal with that information isn't something that we're able to influence. So,
so have you got any advice? Because, you know, when people move to the Telford area, they say, where can we ride? And I send them copies of the Ordnance Survey map, and it's still showing as a footpath. Have you any advice how I could, on behalf of Telford Bridleways, get in touch with the Ordnance Survey, or do I ask you to do that?
I think if there are specific issues in the one that you've mentioned, we can perhaps resend the order to the Ordnance Survey and hope that they address it second time round.
Thank you, Andrew. Appreciate it.
No problem. I think, Sally, we'd have to do it on individual routes that you would draw our attention to, because what we'd then have to do is go back and find the order and resend that through, rather than I'm not sure there's a facility to give the Ordnance Survey our definitive map and say just readjust everything that you've got according to that. So I think if there are any single issues that you want us to look at and you feel that the Ordnance Survey is missing, just alert us to that and we'll see what we can do.
Great, thanks for that one, Sally Ann, because I certainly look at the very latest digital online mapping with OS for what I do, and that's a good example of something that's still a fragmented range of different rights of way. So it hasn't sort of landed with OS at all effectively.
Okay, just to move on then. So our current project is determining all of the outstanding applications to modify the definitive map. By determining, I mean we're deciding whether we're going to publish an order or not. So what we're doing for that is that we have put all our online register onto the planning portal. All of the applications that have been submitted are now on the planning portal, or should be, and you can use that then to access all of the relevant documents that were submitted with the planning application, the application form, witness statements, and any evidence that was sent in. So based on that, we've looked at the lines that have been applied for, the routes of the rights of way that have been applied for, and we've done land registry searches on those routes to find out who the landowners are. Where we can't find who the landowners are, we've put notices up on site asking anybody who has an interest in the land to contact us. We've then sent out consultations, or are in the process of sending out consultations, to the original applicant, the landowners, the town or parish councils, and the local ward members who are affected by each of those routes. Currently, we've sent out consultations for 67 of the routes included on the register, and we're shortly going to conclude all of those consultations. After the consultation period is finished, we're looking to determine whether the council publishes an order or not. We've determined 25 of the applications so far, and we expect to have determined all of the outstanding applications within 3 months. So a decision will be reached as to whether the council will publish an order. Following that, we'll look to publishing the orders based on the criteria provided in our policy. So date of application being the first, unless there's another factor which affects it, and working to publish all of the orders as soon as possible. Before we get to actually publishing the orders, we'll probably carry out a meeting with the main applicants to discuss how we're going to do it, whether we can do it in batches with a view to getting through it as soon as possible. One of the things I'm very mindful of is where an organisation or a person has submitted a large amount of applications and may be required to attend public inquiries. If those happen, we don't want to overburden the applicants with a significant amount of applications in a calendar year. We realise that people have got other things to do than attend public inquiries. So that's the stage that we're at with the outstanding list. Sorry, Sally Ann, yes.
Hi, I'm happy to attend any public inquiry. Don't you hold any of mine back because of that.
No worries.
I'm very conscious that 2 are outstanding that should have been determined before Christmas. That's the Arkle and the one in Jackfield. So please, I'll be available anytime you need me. Okay, thank you.
Yep, no problem. Okay, so just a brief update on orders, the definitive map modification orders, other than the determinations that we've dealt with in the past couple of years. We've published the orders for the Rekin. We've received objections to those orders, I think to every single order that we published. And I think we published 6, I think it was, 4 or 6. So we're preparing to send those to PINS for determination. We published CalCuts. CalCuts didn't receive any objections, so I'm issuing an instruction to confirm the order on CalCuts. We published some time ago, you're all aware, the Traveller's Joy, but of course that went through to PINS and was confirmed by the Inspectorate.
Sorry to interrupt, Andrew. Could you? It was actually on my list. Could you give me a quick heads up, or everyone, on where we're at with that one? I mean, has it been a difficult one to reinstate? I seem to remember.
I think at the moment that the route is available and usable to a width of about 3 metres. There are other issues on the site relating to planning, but the route has a width at the moment of about 3 metres from start to finish.
Right, because I think it was determined as restricted byway, wasn't it?
Yes.
Yeah. Great, thank you. I won't interrupt further.
Okay, no problem. The Royal Victoria Hotel, there was an application for that, and we got that determined with a small diversion within the site. Very small adjustment there to take into account the development. We've published Festival Gardens, received objections to that, and are preparing that for PINS. And Sylvan Close, which was a footpath addition, to the little area of the lime kilns in Lillishall. Got through without objections and has been confirmed. And I think that brings my update on issues to a close, unless anybody's got any questions or would like me to add anything.
Excellent, thank you, Andrew.
Hi, sorry, I just wanted a timeline on the ARCL, because that should have been determined before Christmas.
We have determined the ARCL. We've determined to publish the order. We're busy preparing it at the moment.
Oh, so I just wait for Nicola to send me the paperwork.
Yes, we have determined the order to be published.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
No problem.
Emily.
Can you hear me? No? How about now?
Can't hear you. Incredibly quiet, Emily.
Sorry. If I shout, is that better? Can you hear me? I've got headphones in, so it might not be very good.
I get a feeling your microphone probably isn't working very well at all. You're 1,000 miles away.
Okay. Shall I? I'll maybe put it in the comments.
Have a go. Have a go. Shout.
Just letting you know, Andrew, the definitive map online, which is brilliant. I can't access it. I haven't been able to access it, so I don't know if there's a technical something that's stopping it from being accessed. So just letting you know, because I do use it a lot. So I normally can. So just to make you aware of that, if you weren't already aware.
Okay, so Emily, if others couldn't hear the question, I'm glad no one sneezed, because I put my volume right up to the top there. Technical problems. Emily was saying she couldn't see the definitive map correctly online. I'll chip in there. I'm thinking it might be something at your sort of browser end, as it were, because I use a Mac and Windows machines, and it works absolutely fine.
Yeah, it normally works. I can normally access it, but I haven't been able to. So it might be something that's happened to my end, but just in case there's a technical something that's happened that you weren't aware of.
Okay, so again, if you couldn't hear, if it's the site has been sort of not working or down, I think I accessed it yesterday or the day before when I was getting questions about Cheswell Grange. So it probably is working. Yeah, it's probably you and your mic.
I can answer that one for you.
There, but anyway, thank you for that. It's a very, very useful resource. Sally Ann and others will know that we've been banging on about this for a long time. And it's something really, I know Andrew is not going to leave post until it was finished. So perhaps you're done now, Andrew. But, that's been a huge and fantastic move forward to have that. And I take great pleasure in telling people in meetings. Well, of course, Telford and Wrekin has the most up-to-date definitive map of any local authority. Let's keep it that way. Malcolm.
Yeah, just to confirm what Emily was saying, I looked as well this morning, just before the meeting, at the online definitive map, and it definitely isn't working today for me, and has been previous days. And I checked some of the other online maps as well, the grounds maintenance map, and it appears that they're all non-functional at the moment.
Okay, so
there's.
Yeah, my mic is live. I've just looked. I'm literally doing it now, and it's come up fine.
Right. Okay.
It comes as this big area, doesn't it? Then you then zoom in on all those tiny little coloured worms that you see on the screen. But no, it's working fine. So maybe there was something. I've certainly found the planning portal sometimes is down and then comes back up again, particularly at weekends and things. So might have been that. But keep us informed. Gabriella, again.
I'm on it now and it's not working for me.
Okay, so
all I can say is it's obviously working for some people and not for others. We do use a online definitive map ourselves regularly. If a problem goes in above and beyond today or a couple of days, we'll alert the team there who looks after it and ensure that something's done about it.
Very strange. Yeah, it's working fine for me now.
Yeah, I just went on and it wasn't working, and it's fine now. But it wasn't working at first, and it sprung back in.
Yeah, it's Malcolm again. It wasn't working about 10 minutes ago, and it is now on my machine. So
well, that's the power of the laugh, clearly, isn't it?
glitch.
Excellent, thank you. No, good. So it's probably something. I think that's not pointing to the user, then, is it? It's pointing to something at the sharp end, as it were. Sally Ann. Sally Ann.
Sorry, hi. Sorry, I missed that. Sorry.
You have your hand up.
I lost connection. Sorry.
Yep. You have your hand up.
Oh, Andrew's answered it. Sorry, I've
Brilliant.
dropped it.
That's great.
Except, I think I said about the article. He says he's doing that. That's fine. Sorry.
Great, thank you. So, Andrew, forgive me for being a bit silly on this one. Are you covering current projects and review of the modification orders, or are you just doing the current projects?
Just done the lot.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Just done the lot.
Yeah, just done the lot. I thought I got an echo. Yeah, I thought I may as well just go straight the way through with an overall update.
Brilliant. Nikki, did you want to add anything?
Not anything in particular.
Okay, anything in particular?
No, nothing really. No. Did I have my hand up? If I did, I apologise.
No, I don't think so. I just wanted to know on the legal side whether there's any. I think Andrew's obviously.
No, because I'm no longer legal. I've left legal and I've joined you guys now, or I've joined Andrew and Gemma.
Oh, okay.
The person who'll be attending from legal is Owen Dugmore. So Owen is essentially covering the work that Nikki did. So Nikki is now a rights of way officer along with Gemma.
Yeah.
Two rights of way officers there, not particularly covering legal stuff. They're covering everything to do with rights of way. Owen Dugmore will have taken over from, but I noticed Owen had sent in his apologies.
Right. Any relation to Councillor Dugmore?
No.
No. No, it's just interesting seeing the name pop up. So let's stick with 5 for a minute, current projects. Is there anything that anyone else would like to add on this section? It's usually can be a very busy one if we haven't covered everything.
Oh, I can give. I'll give an update to some of the stuff we've done, which might help fill that bit.
Yeah.
So, as I said, we've been allocated an extra 300k over the next 3 years. We got that in September, and we've been busily trying to spend it ever since. To support that, we've retendered for our term contractor for rights of way, and we've appointed AJB for a further 3 years with the option of 2. So the great thing is we've got the money, we've got the contractor. So some of the work that we've done, sorry, David, yeah.
We got a couple actually. So Naomi.
Sorry, this wasn't in response to Andrew. This was a current project.
Shall we hold up for a second then, Naomi?
Yeah.
Dave, did you want to respond to Andrew, or are you queuing?
It was the reference to current projects, and Andrew would know about this. I did identify a couple of short paths near where I live that I realised weren't on the definitive map and not identified. 2 paths which I would have assumed would have been, because they've been in use for since probably the 1970s. And I don't know whether there is any system, because it may be that we are all aware of paths that we use that are near us, that we assume are completely legitimate, but whether there's any system that actually cross-checks or cross-references the existing paths with what is on the map, on the definitive map, to make sure that there aren't ones that are just going to slip through the net. And for instance, I went round with Andrew, and I think I'd be right in saying that Andrew wasn't aware that these paths were not on the definitive map until I showed them to him. And I would think there might be more. I don't know whether there's any way of picking up on that.
The only thing I'd say is vigilance. I think the difficulty is for the council is that we're aware of routes, we're aware of formal routes. Some of them are adopted. Unfortunately, we don't have anything that we can show the public as to what the adopted network is online, so you can't cross-reference it online. Some are obviously on the definitive maps, but I think the key is that check the definitive map. If a route that you use or think should be on there isn't on there, let us know. Sometimes we can deal with it in different ways. I think one of the routes that you're looking at there is on the golf course, which is on Telford and Wrekin land, which could probably be dedicated by Telford and Wrekin without the need for a modification order. So one of the ways is most of you probably heard possibly of the Strout project that ran from 1995 to about 1998. There was an officer employed by Dawley Hamlets, Sir Gorge, just trying to think of the 5 parishes and 7 Gorge Countryside Trust. And that project tried to pick up a number of routes that didn't have any definitive status on and have it added to the definitive map. And a large amount of, I don't know, 200-300 rights of way were added to the definitive map as part of that project. But I think as the project came to an end, there may have been certain routes that didn't get from the project through to having a legal order made against it. And things like that we can probably pick up on and get a dedication rather than go through a definitive map modification order process. But those we can't. We can do as a DMMO.
I mean, the route between Bridge Rail and Traveller's Joy, really, because I'd use it so much and it seemed such an obvious route, I'd never questioned that it was not something that was sort of legally there and available. And it wasn't until it was obstructed that I found out no, it wasn't on the map, and it wasn't one that. But that was one that was on the Strout list, but then didn't go through to the final kind of designation.
I think the reason for that is that most of the Strout project dealt with footpaths that were either owned by Wrekin District Council, who covered the area that the Unitary Authority now covers, or by TDC as they were known at the time. And anything which fell out of those 2 landowners was more problematic to get on. So I think that the route had been identified by the Strout officer, but because it was in a party outside of those 2 large landowners, hadn't got processed.
Yeah.
But that's essentially what a definitive map modification order process is, and that's the validation behind it, is that you use a route thinking that this is a right of way that I'm entitled to, and then an action takes place which brings the status of that into question. So it's blocked, you're told to clear off or something like that. Shut up. And you reassess the route there, and you realise that it isn't on the definitive map, and you make an application.
Hi, can I just say, because we've got an outstanding DMMO for a route around Horse Hay Golf Course, which is Telford land. If you need help with that, I did pull the old records of Telford Development Corporation, and it is stated in their old records, which is part of my DMMO for Horse Hay, so it might help you, that where the council is putting in golf clubs, that they will arrange for a multi-user route around those golf clubs.
Yes. It
all
does
those
help.
golf courses. So if that helps with that application, please let me know.
It does help, yes.
Yeah, great. Thanks for that. And thanks for that, Sally Ann. You're probably aware I've been having a bit of a trouble with that Horsehay golf course. And I think during the lockdown, they actually locked and bolted up their main gate, which has the bridleway running through it. Didn't see any horse riders, but I saw a fairly large hole in the hedge appearing after a while. So I think Horsehay Golf Club do need another push, as it were, including sort of incorrect fencing and gating at the far end of the bridleway as well. So
at the far end of that bridleway, I raised a complaint about that over 2 years ago, and it hasn't been resolved. You cannot legally put in a more restrictive access than was there previously. So what was there previously was a gate, and what has been put in is a kissing gate. That's, if I had the time, that would be legally challenged.
Okay, something we can look at.
Yeah, I mean, I was having a dialogue with the manager of the club, and then it all went quiet, probably because the questions I were asking didn't suit. But certainly during the lockdown, when people wanted to take a walk, and I saw Naomi nodding. I don't know if you've been up there, but yeah, the gate to the main car park in the golf course was completely locked, and that's where the bridleway pops out. I wrote saying it was pretty clear what their view was of people who take fresh air and exercise. Andrew, I haven't forgotten about you, Naomi. Andrew, do you want to just carry on?
Okay, yeah.
Time is whizzing past, and I've given a few people a fair crack of the whip.
No worries. So I'll just run through some of the projects that we've completed to improve the network since September. I think the major one is we've improved the Severn Valley Way from the Iron Bridge through to the sidings. For a number of reasons, the Severn Valley Way had fallen into disrepair in that section. It was boggy, it was difficult to use. We spent a considerable amount of resource in improving that, both for drainage and the surface. And I think Carolyn will have probably had a chance to have a look at it. That section of the Silky Way is probably a bit of prime right of way in Telford and Wrekin at the moment. One of the other things that we've done is the installation of a number of signs and gates in Rottington. Now, that may not seem very much. We put a couple of gates in, we put a few signposts in, but the importance of that is that Rottington has a very active footpath user group that carries out maintenance and promotes rights of way in the area. And those couple of gates and few signs were very important to them as the initial part of a project to bring their aspirations into line. So I'm highlighting two sides of the work that we do. One is a major reconstruction of the surface of a long stretch of right of way, and the other one is quite small, but they're very significant to the people who use those routes. It's not always the big projects that matter to communities. Sometimes we can do a lot of good just by popping in a couple of signposts and a couple of gates. We've also done some work to alleviate a huge flooding issue at Stony Hill in Lightmoor. One of the number of routes around there, byway open to all traffic. Hopefully we've managed, and I think the weather will have tested it over the last few weeks. I hope we've managed to alleviate that flooding and make that more accessible. We've replaced a 10-metre bridge at Colebrookdale, and also we've carried out some work to improve and clear Kinnersley Drive, which again is a major route, great leisure route, connects two communities, very important. So those are some of the projects that we've delivered since September, and hopefully those will make a big difference to the users in those areas.
Excellent, Andrew. Thanks very much for the update. It's always good to hear what's happening and good news. Naomi.
I just wanted to mention a project and thank Telford and Wrekin for the great support that we're getting for this. We're going to have Get Telford Walking again. We did it in 2019 and it was relatively successful. We're now the council have sort of run with it and have expanded it into a week now. So we've made it so that it agrees with the Walking to School week. So we're hoping to do some work around that. And we're going to have short walks on the Saturday of the 21st of May and longer walks on the 22nd, which will converge, use the T50 and converge on the town park as we did last time. We're getting very good support from the council, and I just thought that I should let the LAF know that this is happening. And if you want to lead a walk on the 21st or the 22nd of May, do let me know and I'll add you to our list.
Naomi, thank you for that, and thank you again for your endless and unbounded energy as a sort of a great spokesperson for Rights of Way. So it's great to have you on the LAF as ever. What I might do, just take a moment if I can, just to run through a few of the things I've been doing in the background, sort of partly on behalf of the LAF. This is a point I made earlier. I don't know if any of you took part in the key stakeholder consultation on Telford play, recreation, open space needs assessment. I don't know if Andrew's up to speed on this or whether it just bypassed his department. But this is a company that's being paid by the council, or was being paid by the council to deal with this consultation. I got in touch with I think they're in Manchester, the company that were doing it, to say there was not a single mention of definitive routes, and there was not a single mention of horse riding at all in the document. And I actually, Wendy Bannerman, who I think Andrew might know, the outstanding Rights of Way officer of the British Horse Society, also got in touch, and they were told, well, this is what we've been asked to do, so this is what we're doing. I'm not sure disability access was covered very well either. And it just seemed to be, from a personal point of view, another big consultation, possibly with a big spend, not looking at the whole user group, and no mention of the LAF or anything like that. Like I was shocked and disappointed, and I just wanted to put that on record. And I think the council should be aware of this, that they do have, via the Crow Act, legally set up a LAF, which should definitely take some part in these types of consultation. That was one thing. Not much more to say on that, other than you've heard my point. I don't know who to thank for the honour of this, but probably only people who actually work for the council will know of government events. I think it's a company in London, isn't it, that sets up sort of training for local governments. And I was invited to join a meeting they were giving to Rights of Way officers, planning inspectorate, etc. Last week. And it was key insights from a LAF working together to improve public access to land was what they asked me to talk about. And all I could do was say great things about everyone who's on at the moment and those who haven't made it, and the work of the Telford and Wrekin LAF, which clearly has some national traction and is well known for the sort of work we're achieving, but also for bringing groups together. And part of my talk involved discussing how we've just had, the horse riders get fantastic support from the walkers support the cyclists, the Wellington walkers and others groups on clearance do work that benefits everybody, and those of you, Sally Ann and others, who've put in literally hundreds of DMMOAs, we're all working as a very good group to get improved access. And with respect to those of you who are paid on the screen at the moment, I did make the point in the meeting that where would we be without the volunteer? And where would Rights of Way be without the volunteer? So I made a point that other LAFs and local authorities really should look to the volunteer group and support them. Anyway, it was a very useful event to be involved in. I don't know who tapped them on the shoulder for me, but Shona Butter, who is Rights of Way department in Shropshire may have said something, or Andrew may have palmed it off onto me without me knowing. I don't know. But anyway, very useful meeting that. Couple of other quick ones. I've asked Jane if she'll kindly look at whether the minutes are up to date on the website, because I do get people asking about that, and our online presence as a LAF, definitive map, etc., is getting better and better, which is great. Andrew, is there anything you can say very quickly about Grange Lane, which is utterly impassable now?
Grange Lane, we're looking to determine whether we're going to publish an order, I think Thursday coming, and if we are going to publish an order on Grange Lane, we'll do that fairly shortly after the determination.
Great, thank you, because that's now completely boarded up at the opposite end from the well, from the tip end, as it were. Those of you will know that area.
We've recognised that Grange Lane is a significant problem for a number of reasons, not just because of the use side of it, but also because having started the consultation on Grange Lane, it's caused quite a bit of consternation with a number of owners along there, quite upset about the application. So we feel that we need to bring this one, once it's determined, to a conclusion as soon as possible so everybody knows where they stand. Excellent.
That's good news, because it can't be any surprise to landowners that it has been used, and people would like to continue to use it.
I don't know, Anthony. I think you find exactly the opposite from the consultations we've carried out.
Yeah.
But there you go. I mean,
just hold up for a second, Sally Ann, just hold up for a second. Sorry, Andrew.
But that's the way these things work. It's looking at the evidence to support it. As you know, the test for whether we publish an order or not is quite a low bar. We have to determine whether a right-of-way may be reasonably alleged to subsist, which means effectively, if we think that there's a chance that a right-of-way exists on a route, we have to publish the order. And the inspector's balance of evidence is of course a lot higher. He has to decide on a balance of probabilities, but our choice is, if we think that there's a chance there might be a route, we publish.
Great, thank you. Sally Ann, I haven't forgotten about you, but sorry, Carolyn, can I go to you first, because you haven't really had much of a chance?
No, but thank you very much, and it's good to be here at the meeting, obviously with Cabinet responsibility for rights of way, and so obviously Andrew's explained about the additional investment we're putting into that. But I just wanted to just pick up on the point on the open space needs assessment and the consultation, that is about sort of the open spaces in terms of things like play areas, parks, football pitches, and it's the sort of methodology for doing that is based on the old planning policy guidance 17, which, whilst we've moved on to slightly different planning policy nationally, that's still considered kind of best practice in terms of understanding what you've got in terms of the spaces rather than the connecting routes to them, which is what the rights of way network does. So it's about the spaces, and the outcome really of that kind of work is for us to have set standards that we consider that, you know, everyone should be within so many meters of a play area or a football pitch and so on, and understanding what the needs are in our community, what we've already got, so that when we're then planning for new or for improvement, so for example, when we have a new housing development, instead of automatically having a play area on that development, the evidence base that we'll have collected through this piece of work will allow us to, you know, to perhaps to say, actually, we don't need another play area here. What we need is an off-site contribution to upgrade something else, or we don't need an additional football pitches, but we need something else. So it's about giving us that evidence base. So it obviously rights of way link into that in terms of access, but the purpose of the piece of work was about the spaces rather than the connections to the spaces.
Great, thanks, Carolyn. Thanks for putting me putting me right on that. But and I was going to say it was actually for the end of the meeting. But councillors, especially, thanks very much for joining us as well, because you're a very important part of actually getting our wishes and needs done, which has happened certainly before very successfully. I only mentioned that one because it did mention cycleways and cycle routes, but perhaps it shouldn't have done. But you have to be able to get to these places, and you may not know this. You're talking to the person whose 3-year-old son has visited 123 playgrounds in the area and surveyed all of them in the past year. So I've got
to see the results.
So we've had quite a bit of fun with that. It was mainly only the other day, but no, thank you. But it's also quite good if the general public and unqualified idiots like me are made clear about that when the survey is sent out to us, so we can really see, you know, we are not asking about this, we're not asking about that, or whatever. So because it wasn't really fair of me to have a crack at the council, and particularly the company that was doing the work. But I always say that I think Telford and Wrekin, the more I travel around the green spaces and the play areas, is incredibly well resourced. It's just people don't seem to know where they are, because they've got to be able to get to them and walk past them and then go, oh, I'll go back there. Sally Ann.
Oh, hi. Sorry, I've just unmuted. Just going back to Grange Lane. The BHS have a lot of the Finance Act maps online. Do you need me to look that up and send you a copy, Andrew?
Please.
Yeah. Good. Yeah,
Perfect.
I've got them as well, Sally Ann, from the BHS. But if you'd send that, if you haven't got them, then I can send them. But if not, send them straight to Andrew. It is out of colour on the finance map.
Oh, is it?
Have you got? It's no surprise. Most of the land there was part of the works and the Sutherland works. So we're looking at the order mainly on statements of use.
Yeah, I'll look that up anyway.
The only other way to do it is go down. I don't have time to do it. Q, and you look up the old maps and where they've had a reduction in tax because there's a right of way. I have to leave now because I've got to put my horses in. Got to get the horses in. But thanks everyone. Thanks ever so much.
Sally Ann, thank you for joining us, and again, thank you to the whole of your family, really, and others for all you've done, particularly with giving Andrew a vast amount of work to do, but it's been worth it for the sake of the rights of way we have got and probably will get in the future.
Sorry, Andrew hasn't actually heard from me for about 2 years because I'm a frontline COVID worker, so he will. As soon as COVID's over, I'll be back.
Good luck with the horses.
Okay.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
Grange Lane dealt with. I did mention John Wellman from Cycling UK, so I'll get in touch with him again. I've mentioned Horsey Golf Course. There's just 2 others, and I don't want to get into deep specifics, but do you know anything about Wrekin College diversion or routes there, Andrew? I've had a complaint from a member of the general public.
Yes, I do. Yes, the order will be published soon.
Great. Okay, because that was an odd one where I think the new AstroTurf is built on top of one of the rights of way, and I was under the impression that the rights of way get sorted before the development, but I don't know.
If Wrekin College had sent me the right route for the diversion back in 2002, it'd probably be on the right line now, but obviously they found it difficult to stick to the plan that they sent me in the first place, so It's got to be done again.
Thanks. I can feed that back to the lady that asked me. And my final one was, do you know anything about the Solar Farm at Cheswell Grange, or anything about Cheswell Grange, which has gone a bit quiet? Cheswell Grange, Newport.
No.
Okay, because there was plans for a diversion there, but none of us really liked it.
Nothing to do with the solar farm, though. That was to do with Cheswell.
No, you're right. It was to do with the solar. No, the solar farm I had complaints about, but I can't see that it affects rights of way. The diversion would have cut off anything that was later to be found existed to the north, which is
but you can't hang on to that forever, Anthony.
No, but
unless you come up with something to prove that there's a route there. We can't keep landowners in abeyance and not give them an opportunity to go for diversion forever. So even if it cuts off routes that are potentially there, unless they're claimed, we've got to proceed.
Yeah.
Because the routes that they've offered are better than the routes on the definitive map.
Yeah, no, I agree. I just felt that this is a bit like saying someone else should do it, but maybe I should ask the BHS. I think that all avenues need to be investigated quickly before we jump down a diversion and then wish we never had.
Yeah, I mean that's you can object to it, but I mean we've held off with that order for something like 3-4 years now, and I think we need to look at it on its merits as to what's on the definitive map and make a decision, unless anybody can suggest that there's anything which is there and a good case for it.
Good. Over to me on that one then. Right. Sally Ann's got a hand up, but I presume it's holding a lead rope. Any other projects that anyone else would like to bring up before we start to bring things to any other business? No. Malcolm, sorry.
Hi again. I don't want to talk too much about specifics, but Andrew, could you tell me where we are at the moment with the major blockage on the route off the Wrekin, on the Wrekin course side?
We have contacted already, and they promised they'd do it. And we're contacting them again following your last email. I assumed it had been done, but it's great. Could we not talk about specifics and talk about the bigger matters? Because we're just going to get tied down. If any of you need to contact me about individual issues, then I can do it by Teams, by email, by meeting, but otherwise we're just going to go into a list of outstanding issues to look at.
On a more general topic, you mentioned as part of your enhanced budget that you were looking at ways of spending the money. I can certainly give you some pointers on that. There's a lot of things around the Rottington area that are outstanding for a long time in terms of very dangerous styles that are public trying to cross and accidents waiting to happen. And also a project that we as Wellington Walkers Are Welcome started last year under Bob's guidance, which was to try and open up the network of rights of way on the Shrewsbury side of the Wrekin. We started looking at it, and we looked at the access into that particular area, where there are some steps that need to be completely refurbished. But the project sort of fell by the wayside a little bit, in that we found out that when we tried to survey the routes again, a little bit later in the year, they were impassable because of farmers cropping right to the edges of fields. And I picked up one of your other comments was about enforcement of maintenance of rights of way by landowners.
Yes.
Can you expand on that a little bit, please?
Okay, there's two types of power that we've got. One is to serve notice, which we will look to do in terms of structures, fences that obstruct rights of way. Ploughing and cropping, we're looking to work with our legal services team for prosecutions on infringements against the legislation. So wherever stuff is reported to us, and what we'll do is we'll look to prosecute in magistrates' court where landowners break the law.
Right, okay. So the advice really back to us is that if we continue to survey that area and find that the routes are impassable due to ploughing or cropping, is to report them to yourselves.
Yes, and we will look to start a programme of prosecution where required. I say prosecution because we do have powers to serve notice in terms of ploughing and cropping, but reinstatement is problematic for a number of reasons. And as with other types of enforcement, we are looking to develop behavioural patterns in landowners as a result of the prosecution. So what we're saying is that if you break the law, we will prosecute. So please don't, and we will offer advice to you on how to maintain your rights of way to a correct and legal standard.
Right. Okay. One of the issues with that particular patch of network is that the footpaths starting out from the side of the Wrekin head over towards Shrewsbury, and before they reach the next road, they fall into Shropshire County Council land outside of the Telford and Wrekin boundary. So where do we stand with that? Is that something that we would have to take independently with Shropshire County Council as well? Or as it's a continuation of the right of way, is it something you can conjointly?
You'd have to take it to Shropshire. We can only manage, except with the express permission of Shropshire Council, those rights of way. So if you've got a right of way which crosses a field, and the boundary happens to be in the middle of the field, as does happen in some cases, namely Lillishall, then everything over in the Shropshire side of it would be down to them. So if a farmer cropped that single field, I would have to serve a notice for our administrative side or take a prosecution, and unless I got permission from Shropshire to do the same, you'd have to go to them to do the other side.
Okay, thank you.
I've only got authority over the rights of way that fall in our administrative area.
Okay.
Because everything I do is on a delegated system. So the council has powers over the rights of way, and all of those powers are delegated down through a system to me. So anything that falls outside our council area, I haven't got any powers to redress any problems.
Good. Thanks, Malcolm. Thanks very much for that. Now I'm struggling to see the comment stream here as it disappears off the screen, but from Emily. But I think we hope we've got that her point now. So, and Andrew, anything else you want to add?
No, I'm all good. I'm all good. No. I've probably said too much.
Well, it's very useful to have this much of your time, as it were, as a larger group. So I think it's time well spent. People have always got things to ask. So if there aren't any other items on sort of projects, and we've done the DMMOs, any other urgent business anyone would like to bring up before I do the sort of final parts of the meeting, which will be future dates? No. Okay. So Jane, I'm not sure you can you talk to us? Maybe not. Does it work? No. Okay. I think you might have had some future dates planned in. Email everyone's probably the best way, I guess. I can see you nodding, so that's fantastic. Good. So unless there's anything else to add, and I'm looking down at the list, thank you all very much for coming. I noticed at one stage we had 23 people in the meeting, and I think these online meetings are excellent, very efficient. However, I think they're actually quite difficult to give everyone a fair crack of the whip, and to get everyone round the table again, and also to get members of the general public appearing as guests and not people who actually aren't guests, and it says guest on here, would make life a lot easier. So I hope we can meet in person at some stage. I think with smaller groups, I think it's easier to do the online, but I hope you feel you haven't been sort of left out, as there's such a long list of people I'm looking at here, but I can only see a certain number on the screen at any given moment. But anyway, thank you all very much for coming. As I say, I'm equally proud of the volunteers who come along, but thank you to all of you from Telford and Wrekin Council, Valerie especially, who I presume without your go-ahead, things never happen. But I can continue to be proud of the LAF and what the LAF does. But I hope next time we can meet in public and also look, Jane will nod, at any new members and actually kind of getting the LAF back into its reconstituted state. Andrew, final words, any?
Final words. Thank you very much for attending this meeting. Thank you very much for being part of the LAF. The work that you do does make a significant difference, not only to the Rights of Way team, but all of the access that goes on. Hopefully, we will continue to introduce you to other members of the council in other service delivery areas so they can show you what they're doing, because the work that we do in Rights of Way doesn't fit into a small area. And although with a small team, a lot of work goes on that supports the Rights of Way function from teams like highways, planning, right across the board. And it does make a difference to the access that you have. So thank you. We will continue to try and show you some of the things that the council does, and welcome all your advice and support in the future.
Great, thank you, Andrew. So thank you all for taking part. I'm sorry I couldn't offer you lunch. That's not how this system works. But at least some of you are in the pleasure of your own home, so you probably reached for various bits and pieces. If it wasn't the cat, Nikki, was it, that I saw going over your head a minute ago?
Yeah, I'm really... I've had two cats attack me during that meeting.
Well, there we go. Anyway, I'll stay on for a couple of moments.